What's up, everybody? My name is Jason, and welcome to Small Biz. It is Wednesday. Happy hump day to you. March the 8th, 2023. In today's video, we're going to talk about how you could have made 60% on your money in Trka overnight. Are we screwed with respect to Xela and the potential reverse split? And was yours truly on the money when I told everyone last night to load up on Hlbz at less than 13 cents a share? All that and more coming right up. All right. What happened to the beer and the whiskey and the wine? You know what I found out today? Ladies and gentlemen, as we are at 12:30 in the afternoon, just outside of Atlanta, Georgia, I found out that not only does YouTube penalize me for swearing too much, but yes, excessive reference to alcohol. So I may have to scrap my traditional line, and quite frankly, given that 30% of our audience doesn't drink alcohol at all, it might be one of the smartest things I could do. So cutting right to the chase. We have the Dow Jones Industrials down 160 points. The S&P is off 3.5. Jerome Powell has been in front of the House, I believe it is today. Yesterday it was the Senate. And it's good cop, bad cop. 1 minute he starts indicating that, well, we could take our foot off the gas because we've got this problem or that potential problem in the debt market. Then he'll follow it up with a hawkish saying, well, we're data dependent and we may have to go more aggressively, i.e. 50 basis points. So, in my opinion, if you listen to the totality of what he has said, and you look at what they call the dot plots and listen to a handful of bankers that actually know what they're talking about, I think we have a full point of hikes. So whether it's 25, 50, 25, or my preference would be 50, strong indication in the press conference in just a couple of weeks that they're going to throttle it back down most likely as we head into the summer, taking the 10-year and everything else for that matter up another full point. So what does that mean for you and your money? Well, simply put, if interest rates, as I said yesterday, are going higher, along with the US dollar, it's a negative for the stock market. And if you want to simply follow along in terms of who's in charge, the bulls and the bears, you got the upside top that I called almost to the penny of, let's call it 4,200 on the S&P 500 and 3,900 on the downside. Last trade, 39.82. So if in the next few weeks we break 3,900 on the S&P, we're going to go down and retest the December and quite possibly the October lows. So we could be talking about another 10%. And if it gets real hawkish or we have a black swan event, because we have to keep in mind who's actually running the show in this country, we could go down a lot further to some of the most bearish targets around 3,000, which would be a 25% crash from here. I don't see that happening, maybe a 20% probability. I think the most likely scenario is we go sideways for a few months and frustrate the hell out of everybody. So with respect to our stocks, last night, if you watched the video, and I appreciate, 817 people out of almost 76,000 that tuned in. Hey, how about that, ladies and gentlemen? Huh? What is that, 2%? 2% of this audience that I could have made 10x, if not more, on your money last year. We've had a bit of a hiccup today, had to take a drawdown on GMBL, more on that in a second. But we are moving up, ladies and gentlemen, because it was down at 500. So if I can get 800 to 1,000, that means I've doubled my audience, haven't I? But I said last night, if you have no morals, if you are without a soul, after they smashed TRKA down from $1 almost to a complete 78.6 Fibonacci retracement, I think I saw it at 27 cents and change last night. You could have bought it there or in the low 30s. And as I said in multiple posts, I would dump it at 50 cents or thereabouts. Last trade, 0.492 at just after 12:30 in the afternoon. So, hey, pull the ripcord. There's your 60%. And you're welcome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to Xela and Hlbz. Let's start off with Hlbz because Xela is the what are we going to do now moment. Hlbz, Hlbz, e-bikes, scooters, run by a guy named Sal who owns half the float. The critique is they have diluted the shit out of the stock over the course of the last few months, and he's not been that honest as to how much and when. That's the bad news. The good news is, if you look at the most recent filing, they're at least 90% of the way through the dilution. So he has a few more million shares that he could dilute. I think the last tranche they did was at 0.1305 just a few days ago. And then they're done. And he's made these moves in terms of cutting back on the workforce, focusing on what's profitable and what's not. Then they've got a shitter get off the pot. There's a shadow ban for you, because it's time to turn a profit, Sal. It's time to enhance shareholder equity without a reverse split. We've got enough problems with that, potentially, with Xela. So bottom line, I said repeatedly, load up on Hlbz under 13 cents. Well, they came out today and said we are compliant in terms of their market cap, and the stock shot to 16 cents and small change in the pre and post market after we opened at 9:30. Some of you gurus, know-it-alls that always seem to catch the very top and bottom of these trades. I mean, they're day trading better than I could ever dream of. Claim that you got out of it at 16 cents or better. Well, first of all, welcome, and you're welcome. And second of all, I said you should be buying it back. This is my podcast station. If you're new, you're just crawling out on a rock and you're wondering, who the hell is this guy? I have a podcast station. It will eventually turn into something I also share on Spotify, Apple, etc. I'm trying to get the hang of it, fix my studio, get this table from stop shaking. Notice I've got my hands between my legs again. Joe Rogan does it. You know, I'm just copying Joe Rogan. By the way, did you take the Trka 60% overnight trade? Let me know in the comments. But Hlbz, for every negative you can give me, I'll give you 3 positives. The CEO owns half the stock. We're almost done with the dilution. They are going to be profitable at some point. The weather outside, in case you haven't noticed, is getting warmer. So the next 2 or 3 quarters are actually their strongest of the year. So I am a buyer of Hlbz, and if you sold it at 16, as I said on Twitter, follow me at TrySmallBiz. You're buying it back at 14 cents or less. My average on a huge position is 13.5 cents. Hlbz under 14 at this point. You're buying it. Xela, trying to get these videos in and around 10 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. They came out with a 10Q, or a proxy statement, that said they have to file for approval, potentially for as much as 100 to a 200 to 1 reverse split, which would be, at this price, $5 to $10. Now, some of you have had awful experiences with reverse splits. I get it. But as I said on Twitter, I find the timing of the news releases this past week interesting. We had 60 million or thereabouts in financing. We had 75 million followed by 75 million in cost savings and efficiencies. Followed by earnings tomorrow. I believe it's pre-market. And then last night, they have to file for a meeting in May 4th, I believe the day is, to potentially vote on a 100 or a 200 to 1 reverse split. Is it a guarantee they're going to have to do that? No. Can they change the ratio? Yes. By the way, they have until April the 10th, as I said last night, to get the stock up to $1. So obviously we have about a month to get a miracle. We've seen it before. LHDX, that's all, folks. LHDX went from 12 cents to 145. And Trka went from a dime to 99 cents. So anything is possible. What I think is hopefully probable is tomorrow they drop some really good news. Maybe they do a buyback. That's been a rumor. Maybe they've got an investment banking relationship where they've got even more money and a banker or an investor that's willing to buy up a bunch of stock. As I said the other day, they had a guy, Fund X, who back in October bought 40 or 50 million shares between 35 and 40 cents a share. But they wouldn't get on the phone with him, and he may have dumped his stock by now for a massive loss. They may bring somebody like that back into the fold. So I'm going to repeat what I said yesterday. There is a chance we're going to revisit the all-time low, which is 046, which if you own it in the mid-sixes like I do, it's a 20 to 30% hickey. The upside is we get decent earnings tomorrow. We get a runway to April the 10th. They get another 6-month extension, which means they would not have to do the reverse split until September, October of this year. Now, can they pull the trigger and do it anyway after the May 4th meeting if they get a yes vote, and they will because they have the votes? Yeah, but we're not going to see a reverse split until the middle of May at the earliest. If things go our way and we get an extension beyond the April 10th deadline for the first 6 months, they wouldn't have to do anything until October. So, bottom line, XELA, I own a shitload of the stock in the mid-sixes. I am prepared to take a 20 to 30% hit down near new lows under a nickel if necessary. But if I'm right, we could easily see a retest of the 8.5-cent high over the course of the next few months, especially if they get until September, October with an extension from the NASDAQ. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, always remember that I love you and thanks for watching.